Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Wright Flyer audio blog. This is your captain, Randy Wright, and I want to thank you for tuning in to this brief message. America has experienced many political phases throughout our relatively brief yet illustrious history. We've mentioned how the presumptive gutless opposition party, or GOP, nominee Donald Trump espouses a form of populism. However, there's a particular political movement from the mid-19th century which proves most analogous to the real estate tycoon's brand of populism. This movement of which I speak is the so-called Know-Nothing movement. Until recently, this line of American polity had been extinct. The Know-Nothing movement actually formed a political party known as the Native American Party back in 1855. It's important to recall that this developed in the era before political correctness, and that they meant native-born Americans at that time. This movement was in response to the waves of Irish and Jewish immigrants that were flowing into the country. Know-Nothings adopted an anti-Catholic and immigrant stance. They argued that purging the land of foreign influences would purify America. The Know-Nothings managed to gain popular support and had become a third party. They split from the Whig Party and held their headquarters in New York City. Among their most prominent figureheads were Congressman Nathaniel P. Banks and former Congressman Louis C. Levin. What's more, they even managed to nominate a former president, Millard Fillmore, in the 1856 election cycle. We find ourselves in a similar situation exactly 160 years later. The Know-Nothings feared that foreign elements would help spur a radical anarchist revolution in the United States similar to the ones that erupted in Europe in 1848. While their concerns might have been justified, the populist stance assumed by their adherents threatened the political solvency of the Whig Party. The Whigs were undergoing political turmoil after General Zachary Taylor had become president. Taylor failed to adhere to the party platform and alienated the base, which allowed disenfranchised Whigs to conjure up a separate political identity. That spelled the end of the Whig Party. Many of the concerns of the 1850s have resurfaced in 2016. While the Know-Nothings feared the influence of legal immigrants, we face the onslaught of illegal aliens and a political elite who disregard the plight of American citizens. Additionally, 1850s America lacked the overwhelming entitlement system which plagues modern America. Despite this, there are striking similarities, and we should heed the lessons of the past. In the election cycle of 1856, the Know-Nothing activists were known for inciting violent mob actions. They targeted Catholics for their wrath, and violent riots broke out in Baltimore, Louisville, and other locations. Besides mob actions, they also tarred and feathered those whom they deemed a threat to the country. Worse yet, they showed no allegiance to the Constitution and sought to deny the fundamental and inalienable rights of various Americans. This included the use of voter intimidation and enacting legislation which amounted to bills of attainder. Many Americans were appalled by the violence foisted upon the nation by the Know-Nothing movement, and that sparked their rapid decline after the 1856 election. The politicians associated with the movement were discredited due to not only the violence, but also charges of rampant corruption. These charges were not unfounded, as they had engaged in ballot stuffing. We have seen similar concerns voiced with respect to Donald Trump and the Nevada primary. If we ignore the lessons of the past, the GOP could become the new Whig Party. However, there's something to be noted from the rise of the Know-Nothing movement. One of the arguments of those who push for a tyranny of false unity is that a third party has never been viable in the United States. History clearly demonstrates that this is not the case. The rise of the Know-Nothing Party accelerated the creation of a new, unknown party. That unknown party was the Republican Party. Conditions in America are ripe for a dynamic political shift on the scale of the mid-19th century. We have to get back to strict adherence to the fundamental tenets contained within the four corners of our Constitution. Donald Trump, as leader of the new know-nothings, presents a direct threat to our representative republic. The sooner we do so, the better off the country will be. The Republicans forget that they arose in response to the Whig Party abandoning their principles. If things don't change soon, they shall suffer the same fate as their Whig predecessors.